Hello and welcome to this edition of DURKO's Notebook for the 2025 Mexican Grand Prix. We're certainly witness to a great weekend of racing and action on the circuit. Anyway, got a lot to talk about, so pull up a pew, sit back, relax and enjoy the show.
You wouldn't fucking read about it.
So as we return to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City, we're certainly witness to one interesting thing in FP1, is that was 9 test or reserve drivers taking the various cars out for the various teams except Sauber to show what they can do with the current machinery as they bid war for that team to keep an eye on them, obviously, in trying to get a seat in the future. Now, Lindblad came back in P6 for Red Bull, and he certainly put his foot in the door at Red Bull to say, look, hang on, if for some reason a seat comes up at V-Carb in the near future, please consider me for it. Now, most of the discussion during the week has been around lap 1 and the first corner, and the lawnmower race that became for Verstappen and Hamilton, and the question of the penalty that Hamilton got, the 10-second penalty, was the stop and go. Was it too great, and why did Max get one? The question I want to ask is, how do they fix turn 1? Do they put in a gravel trap or lines of kitty litter or plastic barriers? Something to stop the cars just running off at turn 1 and taking advantage of whatever grassed area they've got. So something's potentially got to change there. I mean, you could have a massive tarmac asphalt area that's just a run-off like some other circuits do, but then what's the disadvantage? Or do they go to the paint like they use at Paul Ricard that just destroys your tyres? There's got to be something done about turn 1 at least to change the whole runoff area. But I mean, Max could be considered that he got an advantage because he tried driving down the left-hand side with no real estate there, but his argument could be that he did it so as not to cause an accident. So, yeah, turn 1's always going to be an issue for the Mexico Grand Prix. Now, Liam Lawson on lap 3, he obviously forgot what double yellows meant when he came across the two marshals that were on the circuit trying to collect debris. He obviously became rather livid and had a big whinge say on the radio that he almost effing killed them, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but anyway, it's hard to call that, but it was a rare incident where it could have been catastrophic. Now, the great battle to watch throughout the whole race was between Russell, Antonelli and Piastri, because they were all fighting for position, fighting for points, obviously, for Piastri. And then there was the mini battle between the two Mercs of Russell and Antonelli arguing over position. Team orders came out, blah, blah, blah. But it was just great to see these three Merc-powered cars fighting the way they did throughout the whole race. Now, the one incident I say is questionable is the VSC coming out for Sainz, because obviously he'd spun in the baseball stadium area where I've been myself, and they don't come through there at a rate of knots. It's slow, about 60 to 70 k's an hour. Sainz has come off, damaged his car, managed to drag it towards the moat where safety vehicle or other retrieval vehicles can come out, jammed his car in there. It was so far off the racing line, it's ridiculous. And any consideration another competitor could have hit him was just unfeasible. But the VSC was deployed, which effectively ended the race and put a stop to Max getting in front of Leclerc. But I think the VSC was a stupid decision. They could have just had double yellows through the baseball stadium and just let them keep racing for the rest of the circuit. So a weird decision by the race director, or the stewards, I should say, for the race director, at least for the VSC to come out. Now, hopefully George Russell is redacting or going back on his statement that he made at COTA about F1 becoming boring and just a procession of cars, because we weren't witness to that at this Mexican Grand Prix, and George was in the thick of it himself, so hopefully he goes back on his comment. Now, obviously, with Lando taking the win, Max getting a handful of points, and Piastri struggling, the driver's title has really tightened up. It's a three-way battle. And with 4 races to go, it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top after more points are available in Brazil next weekend with the sprint race, to see who can climb up the ladder further and further and who's going to be sinking, not getting any points. So I'll be interested to see how Piastri goes and if he can come back from his sort of current slump because he's just not dialing into that McLaren MCL 39 anymore, and he's literally dragging it around, struggling. So it's going to be interesting. Overall, Mexico delivered. It's one of the best Mexican Grand Prix I've ever seen, probably one of the best races I've seen this season, I believe. Well worth watching. So that's it for this edition of The Notebook, and I shall talk to you in a week's time or so after the Brazilian Grand Prix. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.